Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Pure Digital Passion Podcast with me, Moses Kemibaro. Today's conversation is a little bit different from the kind of conversations we normally have here. And more specifically, we're going to be talking about investment opportunities in Kenya that you, as our audience, can participate in. One of the things that we know in Kenya is that everyone is always so invested in real estate. But what types of real estate exist in Kenya? And I think in this conversation, we're going to unpack an exciting opportunity, which is the TRIFIC rate, a green investment opportunity where you can earn in US dollars. And to unpack this conversation in a lot of detail, we have Brenda and Pius, who represents TRIFIC, the location where this particular investment opportunity becomes available to you as the consumer. And we also have Pius Mushiri from Nabo Capital, who's the rate manager, who's going to also be able to unpack key insights. Thank you so much for joining us, Brenda and Pius.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Moses. Good to be
So
here.
the first question I want to ask you both is really, I think, unpacking what a rate is. And I think I'd love to hear it from both your perspectives, starting with you, Brenda.
So rate, let me first start with, you've used the word TRIFIC. So
Yes.
I want to just explain what TRIFIC stands for.
Correct.
So TRIFIC is Two Rivers International Finance and Innovation Center, Special Economic Zone. So although we're going to be talking about a REIT, I think it's important to explain why this is really special. We are a special economic zone. A REIT is an income investment instrument linked to property. It is listed on an exchange. In this case, ours will be listed on the main Nairobi Securities Exchange. And so it's a tradable instrument that investors can invest in, and they can trade it on the stock exchange like they would trade other stocks. So we, as TRIFIC International Finance and Innovation Center, and we'll use now the acronym TRIFIC, we are bringing our building, so a piece of property, to investors to invest in a tradable platform.
Fantastic. What about you from the rate manager perspective? How do Nabo describe what this investment opportunity represents as the most basic level what a rate is?
Because I know we are speaking to Kenyans
Yes.
primarily, I want to try and use some Kenyan words.
Sawa.
Many of us, in our own individual capacities or even within our ecosystems, we have what we call chamas. Chamas is groups of people. They come together, they pool their resources together, and then they buy assets, or they provide loans to one another. Now, a rate, which is an acronym for Real Estate Investment Trust. Let me just repeat that: Real Estate Investment Trust is actually a regulated chama. The ones we are used to are not regulated. This one is regulated. Is a regulated chama where Brenda and I will be bringing Kenyans together to pool their resources together. And when we pool these resources, we are targeting to raise just about $30 million, 28.7. 29.8
Yeah.
million. So we as Kenyans were going to come from everywhere. We raised $29.8 million. And that $29.8 million, we're going to buy one asset that is called the TRIFIC North Tower. And when we buy that particular asset, it will be owned by this vehicle, this chama.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. It will be owned by this chama, this thing we're calling it Real Estate Investment Trust. That is a vehicle. And the tenants, because it's already fully let, the tenants are already paying rent in dollars. Now that rent will now be directed towards the people who will be owning this particular vehicle. So they will be here in Kenya. They'll be earning in dollars. The tenants will be paying rent in dollars, and we'll be distributing to them dividends in dollars. And we are targeting about 8%. So it's a regulated chama. That's a simple word to say. So 3 things here. One is the vehicle, which we are calling it Real Estate Investment Vehicle. And in that vehicle, everybody who comes to buy a piece of it will be assigned what we call units. Some people call it shares, but in the right language is to say units.
Units.
Some people will buy more units than others. Then those units will be used based on those units. We'll be distributing rent to them based on how many units they own. So the people who own more units, they will receive more dollars.
Correct.
Than others. But it will provide access to otherwise inaccessible assets. Can you imagine you or I, owning a piece of the most prime real estates in the country? That's what a REIT does.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, coming back to you, historically, I think in Kenya, let's be honest, we're land or property obsessed. Whether it's a shamba, whether it's an apartment, whether it's a townhouse. And I think one of the things that I've seen in my own personal experiences, even in my family, is the way that sometimes land or these investments really ties up your capital, ties up your money. It's also very liquid. You don't know what you have in terms of value until you need to liquidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And quite often when you go to the market, you might get quite a bit less than what you actually expected. So when you think about the rate in that perspective, how is this different from our historical ways of buying land or property?
So firstly, let's also recognize that a lot of wealth has been created in Kenya through people owning different types of property, be it land, investing in apartments, etc., farms. Generational wealth has been built in this way.
Absolutely.
However, realistically, that's starting to show some strain, and it's an asset that sometimes, although it has great value, it's very difficult to liquidate easily and quickly, maybe time bound. When you look at the REIT, and thank you, Pius, because Pius really broke it down and gave an explanation of what this is. Because it's going to be listed on the stock exchange, you will be able to transfer your REIT in and out and liquidate it promptly, just, by trading, like you would liquidate your shares on the stock exchange. So it's another income instrument or investment instrument that you can use, but it's more liquid than buying a piece of real estate on your own, owning it, and when you may wish to, at any point, liquidate, you may struggle to do it as quickly as you may wish. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why I would say that this is a great opportunity. And Pius has mentioned an opportunity also to own a piece of property in the Two Rivers complex.
Yes.
Which is within the UN diplomatic blue zone, which a lot of people do not have the opportunity or access to on its own. But by owning a piece of this building, you own a piece of a property that's within this very prestigious address.
Can you tell us a little bit about the origin story of this idea or this concept, the way it came together, what made it happen, and obviously the timing, which we'll talk a little bit with Pius about, how this actually comes together eventually. But what's the origin story behind this exciting opportunity?
So in terms of the REIT, it's a different maybe in terms than the TRIFIC story, but they do complement each other. We are part of the Centum Group. We're a subsidiary. Centum is listed on the Nairobi and Uganda Securities, has been listed for about 50 years plus on these exchanges. And so part of their ethos and their focus is also to invest in assets that can be tradable, that can offer investment opportunities, not just to Centum, but again, to all the investors who participate in Centum's story. Being listed on the stock exchange, it has thousands of shareholders. So the REIT is just another instrument that will be listed, separately on the stock exchange, and that will give more investors a chance and an opportunity to be part of this story. Yeah.
Fantastic. Pius, coming back to you, when does the offer come to market? When do people actually get a chance to get into this?
Before I even answer that, let me just add to what she's just said, because I have a personal story.
Okay.
To add to it. I remember I was below 10 years old.
Oh.
And I used to go to church at Holy Family Basilica. So we would walk there with my mother, and then on our way back would pass outside International House, which has been my location for over 20 years now.
Okay.
And I remember, there were some very nice flower vases outside,
Mm.
and my mom would take us inside, and we would take pictures there.
Wow.
And I still remember how I should say, she would say in Kikuyu, my native language, this place is owned by Chris Kirumi.
Wow.
I was below 10 years old.
Imagine.
And I don't think it struck me until I started working for him and with him.
Wow.
And he told me the story behind, him owning International House. And it really sort of, just puts it into perspective why a rate is important. To own real estate directly is very capital intensive. So if you owned any prime real estate anywhere in Kenya, even in Nairobi, instantaneously you are the talk of town. Everybody knew you because only a few elite Kenyans could afford. And even he himself, he had to put a group of people together to take possession of International House. So owning direct real estate has been a source of wealth for very many Kenyans. Actually, let me say not very many Kenyans, for elite Kenyans. Just elite Kenyans, because of one big barrier to entry. It's very capital intensive. Now, that's problem number one. The second problem is illiquidity. If you own a building that is worth 3-4 billion shillings, and your bank is harassing you for 100 million shillings, and you don't have that in cash, the only way you can access that is to sell the building or mortgage the building, which is very, very cumbersome, and it takes 2 to 3 years to just liquidate real estate. So the Real Estate Investment Trust, this regulated chama, is actually coming to solve those two problems. Now, you don't need billions to own a piece of prime real estate. You only need $1,000, and you become one of the shareholders of the most prime pieces of real estate in Kenya. That's one. Number two, as Brenda said, it's going to be listed on the Securities Exchange. Now, if you own maybe units worth 10 million shillings, and you only need 100,000 shillings, you just go to the market, sell units worth 100,000 shillings, and you still remain an owner, but you have access to liquidity. Those are the two big problems that this particular rate, and that's a big inspiration for us. Then the other reason why this rate is very important, or rather part of the origin of the story, is that Two Rivers, we are sitting on 64 acres, more than 800,000 square feet of grade A commercial space developable. So the Northern Tower is just the beginning. We need a lot more capital to develop and make it fully let, and bring all the employment that it is doing, like Northern Tower is doing already. That means we need to keep going to the market to raise capital. So the success of this particular rate is important, because then we are saying we are going to Kenya and say, let's partner with you and develop almost like a small urban node. And it will be a pride for very many people who become owners of the rate. So this particular offer was opened on 13th of May this year.
Just about a week ago,
Just
right?
about a week ago. So right now, you can walk into any broker house, or you can go to C&R registrars online, and you make your application, or you submit your subscription, and you can become one of those people who will be owning a piece of this with as low as $1,000. Can you imagine? These are building worth billions of shillings, and with only $1,000, you can be able to get a piece of it. And it will be coming to closure on June 12th, and then after that we make the announcements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brenda, I'd like to come back to you, and I think for me, I'd like maybe for our audience to unpack a little bit about what is actually happening at TRIFIC in terms of your tenancies, the incentives that are provided to the businesses that are there, that are paying in US dollars. What makes it such an attractive investment opportunity for those who might be considering this?
Okay, thanks. So, as I mentioned, it's TRIFIC Special Economic Zone. So we're a special economic zone within the Two Rivers ecosystem. Within our special economic zone, we only trade in dollars in terms of all the rentals, all the leases are all in dollars. We currently have 30 blue chip tenants in the building.
30, that's a significant number.
It is. It
Yes.
is. It's an 8-floor building, 174,000 square feet, grade A office space, green certified edge building. And it's a great mix of tenancies in different business sectors. Now, to operate in a special economic zone, you definitely have to be eligible. It's not for everybody. And these tenants are all eligible. They export their services to the rest of the world. But let me give you more details. We are a special economic zone, but we are the first privately owned, bespoke to business services special economic zone in Kenya. There are many special economic zones in Kenya, and you can find out the number when you go to the regulator's website. I believe we're now at about 37 or 38 of us.
Okay.
And most of the others are focused on different areas of the economy or mixed use. So our focus is on business services, and we're currently the only one looking at that. We're privately owned as well. When you operate within a special economic zone, you're regulated by the Special Economic Zone Authority, SEZ, and I want to at this juncture say they are actually a great regulator and we work very well with them. And with that, you get some strategic incentives, various incentives that allow you to optimize your work and your business. And there's a process you go through to be approved, which we as TRIFIC support you with. That's really one of our main jobs. There is the strategic incentives, there's the great location, but we as TRIFIC become your partner. We could be what you could call the one-stop shop that works with the government one-stop shops to help you get across the finish line, to help you with your application process, to help you get the approvals, if you're eligible, and then to onboard you into our grade A office space. We offer different types of office space, and the client chooses the same and chooses their fit out. The sector that we look at, business services, is a sector that is really growing in Kenya. It doesn't have as much attention as perhaps it should have. It currently attributes to about 50% of our GDP in this country. So people don't realize there's a lot going on in the services sector. And we are very fortunate to have as what I'd call our anchor tenant, a company known as TP, Teleperformance, which is the world's #1 business process outsourcing firm in the world. And they've chosen TRIFIC SEZ as their home. And they have great ambition for this country, and they're truly delivering on that. And one of the key things that they're doing is offering job opportunities to very talented Kenyans in this business service space. And, you know, Moses, a year ago when we were talking about this, because they haven't been in our zone for very long, Kenya, when we were talking about BPOs, we really weren't even being looked at as a real location for the BPO industry. In fact, when you looked at different market surveys for around the world, we weren't even being considered. But this year, we're very much part of it, and we're being surveyed, and we're growing in terms of the number that we are in globally. It's growing. We're gaining traction, and that's because of a lot of effort that's been put into this space. And this is not just due to TP and TRIFIC, because yes, we definitely play a great role, but there are different now BPO associations in the country. The government is looking at this space quite intensely, and I think we're going to see a lot more coming from this sector.
I think it's quite exciting, especially when you mentioned TP, because we actually had Sven on this podcast.
Oh, yes, you did.
And we've not yet released it. So this is fortuitous timing.
This could be a precursor.
But he had a lot of positive things to say about setting up the business in Kenya and what they are doing at TRIFIC. And I think when we spoke with him, he was saying that they had about 2,500 operators in their location.
Yes. Working 24/7.
24/7, yes. And I think what I picked out from that conversation is the fact that, the way that TRIFIC has been set up has allowed them to sort of roll out and really expand their operation in a very seamless manner. So, congratulations on achieving that for them, So he was very, very emphatic about the fact that moving to TRIFIC really transformed the way their business is growing,
It's a partnership.
Yes.
And so we listened to each other and we worked very well together.
Yeah. I'd also like to hear maybe your perspective around, TRIFIC as, the location, SEZ, how that sort of fits in and sort of possibly amplifies the rate opportunity with that. And I think maybe there's also the thing that you mentioned earlier about being you said the EDGE certified,
yes, green
and also
EDGE certified, and also
A-grade.
A-grade office space, and also approved according to the CMA green rules. So we're a certified.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think people really need to understand what that means, and I think you don't quite appreciate it until you see the photos from overhead. How much of the the solar panels and the infrastructure? Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Is that for Pius or me?
You can both do it, yeah.
Well, we have some great solar installation within the Two Rivers ecosystem. And I have to keep saying, we are part of the Two Rivers ecosystem. And one reason I would say that we are a very vibrant and the fastest growing special economic zone in Kenya is because of the great infrastructure that has been invested into our ecosystem by Two Rivers Land Company. So it's the great roads. We have our own power plant. It has 266 kVA lines to it. We have our own water plant. We do reverse osmosis treatment.
So recycling water as well.
Recycling, and 85% of it goes back into the system. We're committed to keeping 30% of the land space, as Pius alluded to. It's 64 acres within the special economic zone, but it's 64 acres of the 128 acres within Two Rivers. So a lot of thought and consideration has gone into this zone. When we started TRIFIC, the solar capacity was 1.2 megawatts. It's now been doubled to 2.4 megawatts and still looking at room for expansion. So when you visit our ecosystem, you can see this solar. And it's great, and it's very important when we're looking to attract tenants, and indeed when we'll be looking to attract investors, is about our green certification and our promise to remain green, but by actually doing it, and you can see it live on site. So a lot of thought has been done on that.
And also when we say grade A, unpacking, what does grade A mean?
Well, it looks at, the facility's grade A. When you walk in, it looks good. That's part of it. But a lot of efficiencies in terms of how the building was built, how, the sunlight comes in, how everything operates more efficiently. So just all of those dynamics that come in, because you are competing with other office space within Nairobi. So when a client like TP is looking at office space, it's also looking at how this whole ecosystem works and will this office fit to their international spec.
I've actually had the privilege in the past of working with a client in our agency when we were marketing a real estate opportunity in terms of, getting tenants in. Yeah. And they really, really went on the grade A thing. But what I think came out of it is that they were saying to us, there are certain type of tenants you cannot even get unless you meet a certain benchmark.
Yes.
And I think it's almost like saying, I think in Kenya, is it a building or is it actually a building? Meaning, we know that there's a lot of buildings that exist, but the quality of finishes and the way it's built is not done well.
Yes.
But a grade A, I think, is almost saying that you conform to a certain internationally recognized standard in how you do it, right?
Yes, very much so. Standards are very important. Maintenance is also very important. And so the fact that we adhere to all that is important, and you get all the certifications. One thing about not just our building, but TRIFIC, but even as we go to the REIT, is the governance structures that are in place. So you'll see them there in terms of when we talk about the investment, and Pius will also allude to it, but also in terms of how we maintain the building. The property manager for the building under the REIT is Brawl.
Okay.
And so we also, we've made sure that we look for international partners, just so that we keep to a certain spec and adhere to not just what is international, but actually what is expected and what is right for the tenants. Yeah.
Pius, was there anything else you wanted to add to what she shared?
Yeah, I think your question was around the attractiveness of the opportunity, and it reminds me, Dr. Chris Kirubi, the late, used to tell me, Pius, if you follow the bee, you'll find the honey. It was like a parable, and I needed to demystify it. And I came to understand what he was really saying. If you want to find the best opportunities, just look at the cash flows. Look at the cash.
Follow the money.
Don't do too many things.
Yeah.
Just look at the cash flows. This rate is promising investors, for every $100 that you put in, you'll get $8 minimum every year back.
8%.
8%. Every year, you get $8 back.
Guaranteed. In dollars. Huh?
In dollars. Now, that may not mean a lot if I don't expand it. But if you look at the dollar is very different from shilling, because the rate of depreciation of the dollar is far much lower compared to the shilling. So if you look at dollar assets, what they earn typically, if you put money in a bank, you'll be very lucky to even get 4%. You have to have a lot of money. You have to have a lot of influence to negotiate with the bank to give you even just 4%. Here we are saying, for every $100 you put in, you'll be almost guaranteed $8 coming back to you every year into perpetuity. That's cash flow, and I like separating those two words, cash and flow. Don't
and you get paid twice a year,
so you get $4 every
in July,
every 6 months.
Yeah,
every 6 months. So meaning money comes into your pocket, it leaves, you spend it, another more comes for as long as you own this particular asset. And that's really the secret of becoming wealthy. It's not hoarding money, it's positioning yourself in a place where money comes in. No matter how much you spend it, more keeps coming in.
Yeah.
So two things must be in place for this to happen. We must make sure that the rental, there is maximization of rent. And maximization of rent, it is dependent on two things: the quality of the building and the quality of the tenants. And we've spoken to a huge extent about grade A. The TRIFIC North Tower is offering grade A. The grade A, if you speak in hospitality terms, is the 5-star equivalent in real estate. So this is the top of the range. Every top tier customer or tenant is always looking to be in a grade A commercial space, because the services are completely different. It's a premium, and that then commands rental premiums. So if you look at the Northern Tower, the kind of rentals that people are paying, relatively, they are premium rentals, but it's for a good reason, because people are not just paying for space, they're paying for access to tax incentives. When you're there as a tenant, your corporate tax moves from 35% to 10% the first 10 years. The ease of doing business is you can set up very quickly access to policymakers, access to decision makers, access to government offices that are instrumental in your operation. They are made easy. Even some of the services they're offering, they're even helping you to recruit people.
Yeah.
We just spoke about teleperformance. How do you recruit 2,500 people? You need local support, and those are being enabled because of the space that they have chosen to operate in. So on one hand, the quality of the building is top tier, that it's attracting premium rentals. Then every year is going to be a 3.5% rental escalation, which means the likelihood of your 8% becoming $9 and $10 over a long period of time, it's not impossible that in some distant future it will be $15 and going up.
Keep growing.
It just keeps growing as long as the quality of the building and the offer remains top tier. So that's on one side. The other side is that you really have to minimize the cost. And the sponsor has not just given a guarantee, or rather an undertaking, that if there's any shortfall in the rate being able to meet the $8 for every $100, they will meet that shortfall for the first 2 years.
Wow.
So that is taking the risk away from you and almost giving you a guarantee. We don't use the word guarantee, but it's almost guaranteed. And so then in essence, this rate is very attractive from a cash flow perspective. And that cash flow will keep coming over a long period of time. So the idea about the rate and why I consider it to be attractive, it's not just simply offering a high yield in dollars. It is also ensuring that it's going to be durable for a long period of time.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brenda, I'd just like to hear your point of view, because you know what, really speaking to Kenyans and Kenyans in the diaspora, Kenyans locally, professionals, people holding dollars in bank accounts, and sometimes dubious locations like, you know, potentially maybe things like crypto. How would you frame this for them? Because I think people maybe historically have never understood rate and that sort of thing, but there's so many value propositions around what TRIFIC is talking about here. You know, the asset backing it, the essentially the guaranteed rental income that is really coming in. You know, the fact that it's dollar based, it's green, it's income generating. How do we speak to those people who maybe might be looking at this and possibly feeling a bit shy about it, or maybe they're not quite well informed about it? How would you tell them in this podcast why should they really look at this as the way to go?
Yes, so this is part of us, you know, even in this podcast, you know, educating people more about this product, this financial instrument. It's listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So that in and of itself, it's been given as a stamp of approval by the CMA and the Securities Exchange. It's, in dollar terms, you can purchase 1 unit, $1, but the minimum threshold is you purchase $1,000. You know, 1,000 units, $1,000. So we've really looked at seeing, you know, can we make it more accessible? So that's why the $1,000 is there. We, you know, we've given you various avenues of how you can get involved, using your broker, coming directly to the TRIFIC website. We show you how to do this. Again, when Pius talks to you, we've really gone to the market and tried to understand what are potential pain points for investors when they look at different financial instruments. And because of those, we've seen how you to use what we call a stabilization fund to make sure that the REIT will be stabilized in the first 2 years. Part of the rules say that we are taking, yes, the whole asset to the market, but we must maintain possession of 20% of these tradable shares. So we are still very vested in the success of this instrument when it goes to the market. So it's very important for us that it is successful, and we hold on to 20%. In addition, we've partnered with AIB Axis to be what we call a moneymaker, so that helps to provide stability as people trade with this asset on the stock exchange to first of all make sure that it is tradable, there is stability, and you are able to trade your shares if you purchase them. There will be a willing buyer, willing seller opportunity.
That liquidity is there.
That liquidity is there and backed by us as the promoter of this asset. So truly, when you look at all things being equal, I'm not sure there are many other instruments that have come to market with all these checks and balances being put in place to allow the retail investor to feel that they're making a secure investment. So yes, we've really listened to the marketplace, and that's just part of the ethos of who we are as TRIFIC. Even when we go out there and provide the facilities that we provide, is to really listen to what the stakeholders are looking for, what they need, and looking for ways to overcome pain points and provide the solutions. So we've done that for our tenant base and what we've provided, and we're doing that now, hopefully, for the investors that are going to come into our space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pius, I'd like to come back to you in terms of the fact that in Kenya, when many people do investments, the chama is a very, very significant model or approach. And in fact, you've described the rate as almost a chama unto itself. But what would you say to those who are part of those investment groups, the chamas, possibly even the institutional investors who also could participate in this? How would this look good to them, if you were to say so? Because I mean, for instance, if I'm in a chama and I want to buy 1,000 worth because that's what we can afford, can they participate as a chama? If we are what you call institutional, somebody's got millions and millions to put in as an organization, what does that look like? And again, given your background in Nabo Capital, how would this work for them in this particular instance?
The reason why people come together as chama, and I've actually been part of chamas, some of them which have failed.
Oh, okay.
Is because even though the intention is very pure, we want to come together, pull our resources together, and do something that none of us can do individually. But we often forget that all of us, some of us are lawyers, others are investment professionals, others are in the diaspora. We all have our 8-to-5 job, employed or self-employed. And we get ourselves into projects that demand operational capabilities, which we do not have the time nor the expertise to do. I call it the Kenyans do-it-yourself disease. So this rate or this regulated chama, it treats all these problems because, number one, it still gives you access to something that is so far much bigger than what you could have done individually or what your own chama by itself could have done by itself. So that is, first of all, access to top tier opportunities that will ever show up in the country. But then it also cures your inadequacies around operational capabilities because the TRIFIC IREIT comes with institutional governance. We are literally, as we speak right now, we are very privileged to be in the presence of my sister here, who has many years of corporate top corporate jobs.
Yes.
She is running TRIFIC. No chama can afford her. And not just that. Then you have the likes of ourselves. There's a whole team behind me. Then Brawl, there's a whole team behind Brawl who will be doing real estate management. There's a whole team in NCBA corporate trustee who will be just doing trustee services. Then there's a whole, there are hundreds of people who will literally be working for them,
and you can tap into
every
them
day.
Yeah.
And they are professionals and they're experts in their fields. So that institutional governance is guaranteed. That's what this is offering. Then, of course, is a structure, transparency. Another big challenge we have in our chamas is transparency. reporting, this structure, this rate is regulated, meaning there are certain protective mechanisms that have been put in place to make sure that no shilling, no dollar will ever be lost. So we have a custodian who will be holding the assets, independent of NABO Capital, independent of TRIFIC SEZ, independent of everybody else, so that even if NABO Capital, by some extraordinary event, if it ever goes down, the money that belongs to investors will remain safely secured with the custodian. So that's really massive. So some of the things that come to mind why this opportunity is not just offering a high yield in dollars, but is also offering the safest platform to do that. And also, I forgot, very scalable. The TRIFIC North Tower is just the beginning. 10 years from today, we'll be talking of a couple of grade A commercial space buildings. Even the best companies, the richest companies here, none of them own more than 3 buildings. The rate will own tens of buildings.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. And that gives diversification, meaning if one goes up on fire, then you still have rentals coming from the others. And there's also, because of the institutional backing, there'll be proper insurance covers in place in case of such eventualities. So I cannot fathom any chama that can be able to match what we have put together as an IREIT. And for those people who are especially in the diaspora, their biggest challenge to invest back here is structure, governance, and transparency. All that are offered in this.
Fantastic.
You cannot lose your money through some informal projects. Yeah.
Brenda, what are some of the questions you're getting from investors and of course the ones that have come on board? What are the things that maybe would be interesting just to mention to the audience, perhaps to answer some of their questions as they listen to this conversation?
So just to mention maybe something that Pius alluded to in his last response, this is going to be a scalable REIT. So the North Tower is our first building, and we take it to the market, as we say, fully let.
Yes.
We still have a great pipeline of clients who wish to come into this ecosystem.
Yes.
And so, yes, we are preparing from the proceeds from this REIT. We will use now to start building another building. We have all the architectural drawings, the designs, etc. We've actually started the foundation and piling works there. So we'll be able to then start to build the next building. And we also have the Victoria building on site, which is now open, and we're taking the reservations for clients to go there. So the whole issue is it's not just going to be one asset. We hope to bring other assets into this REIT. So it's going to be scalable in the same ways as we scale our business. And that's a good thing. So we will be all growing together. A lot of potential investors ask, what is the minimum size of the investment? And so I've mentioned that before. It's the $1,000. They come and see the tenant mix, and we've showcased the different tenant mix. It's not just in GBS, which is Global Business Services. We have advisory services, fintechs, shared services, centers of excellence. We have a broad range of what I'd
which
call
shows that many are seeing value.
Yes, they're seeing value, and they're all different in what they do. So that's also good to see. It's also about the amenities you get within the Two Rivers ecosystem.
Of course, yes.
Because yes, you can have an office space, but what else is there? And I mentioned this earlier. The Two Rivers ecosystem has great infrastructure. So we have the mall, which a lot of people know about. We have great residential offerings on site, run by Centon Real Estate, nearly 1,000 units and growing. We have different amenities from cinemas, restaurants, pickleball, Ferris wheel, the only Ferris wheel in Eastern and Central Africa, I might say. We have a go-kart racing track. We have a water park. There are many things at Two Rivers. So it truly is and I have to be careful how I talk about this, because we start with the commercial office building. So it's work, live and play, not live, play and work. Let's start from why they're coming to TRIFIC, work. But there is a great ecosystem there. And especially when you see the vibrant workforce, and there's a lot of that you see. You mentioned TP with 2,500 people. There's a lot of different things for the talented workforce to do on site as well, and so it's just a vibrant ecosystem for people to be part of. Yeah.
It's interesting because in my work, we've represented other clients in the past who are marketing sort of what you call a mixed-use development, which is what I think I described this. And I think increasingly that's what people are looking for. They're not just looking for a house in some piece of land. They want to know about the conveniences. I can go to Carrefour. I can take the kids down to ride the whatever. And I think when you combine it with the work model, it really does provide a holistic experience, right?
And also on that, security.
Oh, yeah,
so
security,
we are in the UN diplomatic zone. We also have great security within the ecosystem, and that's also important. Access to good transport facilities, access to different residential zones that you find from this particular location. So it ticks a lot of the boxes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So let's get to the crunch of it, yeah? I'm sitting on a few $1,000s. How do I get this going? Maybe I'm sitting in San Francisco. Maybe I'm sitting in Nyeri. How do I buy in?
Do you want to take that, Pius?
Yeah. So in this process, there are several players who are involved to make it possible for people to own a piece of this. So we have brokers, and many of us, whether you're seated in San Francisco, we have local brokers who have been transacting for us. So very simple, get in touch with your broker. They already know the process of how they will send you subscription forms, or they will help you to fill in the subscription forms, and you fund your account, and they submit the same. And on the day of allocation, you allocated what is rightfully yours. So it's as simple as that. I don't even want to complicate it beyond that, because most of us have traded on the stock exchange. We are also working very closely with Safaricom to also onboard it on the Zidii Trader.
That's the online platform. The Safaricom app.
Yeah. And they are racing to make sure that we enable as many Kenyans as possible to use that platform if that's what is going to be most convenient to them, to be able to, within a few minutes, put in your subscription and wait for your allocation, because this is an IPO. It's not trading yet. Once we close on June 12th, there's a high possibility, and it's important that I mention that even though we are looking for $29.8 million, there's a high possibility maybe it will be oversubscribed, meaning the offers, the bids that we'll have received will be more than what we are looking for. But we can only accept up to a certain maximum, meaning there might be, if that is the situation, most likely people will have to get back a part of their money. But everybody will get a piece as long as you put in your subscription.
Fantastic.
And just to add, you can go onto our website. We have all the links and instructions. When you click, it will also show you exactly how you can participate. Correct. So if anybody needs that sort of information, it's very available. And also a place where if you have any queries, need to reach out, that's also there.
Yeah.
So if someone remembers only one thing about what you've said today about the TRIFIC Green USD rate, and they consider whether to act before the 12th closing date, what would that be?
To be a part of this great story and to remember TRIFIC Special Economic Zone, because it's definitely a landmark investment on the NSE And we'd be very proud to have as many people as possible to be part of this.
What about you, Pius? What did you say?
Someone once told me that it is far much easier to become a billionaire in the US than in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because the economy in the US is so massive that there are numerous opportunities. If you just sell oranges in the US, you are almost assured to become a billionaire. And a lot of us have operated for a long time just in our local economy. And therefore, our potential has been limited to what our economy, which is relatively small, what it can offer. This particular opportunity gives you an opportunity to be seated right here in Kenya, in a Kenya shilling economy, but you earn in dollars by tapping into global companies which are here and they're exporting their services globally, and they are bringing in dollars. They're doing global business and earning dollars and bringing in dollars into the country. And now you're taking a share of that. You are an owner of that. So I don't know which other opportunity will give you access to global markets like this one. So this is not just about an 8% yield. It's about tapping into a global economy that is far much bigger than our local economy. Massive opportunity for Kenyans.
Great. Brenda, Pius, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I think what you've done for me here is also maybe crystallized with great detail why this is a great investment opportunity for Kenyans, both here at home and in the diaspora, also for investment groups or chamas and anyone else who would want to be participating in this great opportunity. And I think I'd like to wish you all the best as, the allocations come through. And more importantly, when you get to the 12th of June, which is when it closes. So I think we really unpacked it really well. And we hope that people hear the call and actually decide to invest.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Moses.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you, Moses.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there you have it. That's the TRIFIC rate currently open, and you have the opportunity to apply. You need an investment of a minimum of $1,000. It allows you to earn up to 8% of that investment once it goes to market. And the deadline is the 12th of June, which is just in a couple of weeks' time. So we hope that this conversation has been of value to you, and hopefully you'll get an opportunity to be an investment opportunity where you can be an investor in a top-tier real estate investment that is going to allow you to earn money in dollars, and something that I think in the next 5 to 10 years is going to look very exciting. So thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. We'll catch you in the next one.